What's up, YouTube? What is going on, everybody? Sorry I am late. My goodness, that was a little bit of a wild ride. We had a super busy day, came home late, and sat down on the couch and accidentally fell asleep. Never has 9 o'clock come so fast on me before, but it did tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But we're here, and it's time. We're going to crank this up. We're going to take it so much extra so quickly tonight. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time, this is the Grass Factor live stream. This is the weekly lawn and garden show. Typically, what I like to talk about on this show involves turfgrass management. I'm a turfgrass professional that has somehow made his way into fertilizer manufacturing as part of a startup known as Carbon Earth Company. Our featured products include Carbon X, which is out now. Also, X Green, which is a greens grade material that is out now. And soon to be X Start, which will be a starter fertilizer. That'll be coming up this fall. And I don't know, we still may have one more trick up our sleeve before the end of the year. So, enough of that. My background is turfgrass management, so I like to answer questions about turfgrass. I will tell you right now, I will make mistakes. I do not have all the advice. However, I do know a fair amount and will do my best to answer as many questions as I possibly can. This show is run by the viewers. You ask questions in the chat, I will provide answers. So please, if you would like me to answer your question, ask away in the chat. I'm about 20 seconds to 10 minutes behind on the time you ask a question. I go in the order in which I receive them. If I miss your question, feel free to ask again in the chat. If I do miss it, it is not on purpose. It is just because I'm going as fast as I can, and I make human errors. Hello! Alright, everybody, now we're going to move into the segment of the show that we refer to as the roll call. We got a big first from Lushy himself. Lushy, glad you're here. Lushy Lawns. AV guys here, what's going on, good sir? Chris, Mr. Voigt. Up in Wisconsin, because we can in Wisconsin. DSPO, second or third. How are you, good sir? Mr. Nettles from Grove Park Inn. Woo! Austin Wagner, how are you, good sir? Let's see, where are we? Tall Fescue, Junkie, Mike, Wassenauer. Shane Brady, the hardest working man in lawn care. How are you, good sir? The Lawn Fix, TLF. Rhonda Martin, my new favorite band, Return of the Mummies. Do not know them, but I do love Here Come the Mummies. That's a great show. That's a good time. Some 99%, my mom is here. How are you, mother? Lambert 1702, Sean Gregory, Eric Ellis. My wife is tuning in. Wake up, wash your feet, and wash your face. Let's see who else is here. Brian Eckert, welcome, sir. Glad to see you are here. The Lawn Stripes, Mike Morris. David Barton, B. Ruck, how are you? John Teague from the other side of town. Mr. Taylor, Gorgonzola, Thomas. Mr. Finch, Michigan, Mike Rapini, what's going on? Good sir. Richard Freeman, Larry Nelson. Woo! Got another SEC brother in here. 802 Top Hat. Oh, man, we got all kinds of people here. Social Port's here. Popo and Son Lawn Care, are you an astronaut? Are you out of this world? Sometimes I feel like it. Gravy Lookout, what is going on, man? You're going to show me your regulated fescue today. Oh, man, I need to take a picture of it. I'm out of sun, Gravy. I'm out of sun, man. I'm sorry. I will get it in the morning. Someone spread some Carbon X on him to wake him up. I need a little sprinkle right on my head there. Just finished watering the rest of the yard. It's beer time. All right, well, I reckon that's going to get it. So let's just jump into the questions to see what we have going here. I think this is the first one I saw it come in, so I will answer it. And this is going to be a nice, generic corporate answer for you here. 802 Top Hat says, bro, When will X Green be available to the consumer market? What a good looking fert for the summer. And the answer to that is, I don't know. Soon, hopefully sooner rather than later. We are still trying to figure out the different markets where we can apply this, and not necessarily just in terms of like, is it DIY or is it golf or is it the pro market? So we've got feelers and tests in each of those markets, and we're kind of gauging how it responds. So that way we know how much effort and time to dedicate to production of this product, because you have to balance sales with production, right? There's always a balance there. So we're trying to do our due diligence to manage sales and production, so that way we don't run into a situation where we get caught like we did with Carbon X, where things went a little hotter than we anticipated. So yeah, there you go. Have you been getting reports of fungus in the Chicago area? Yes, absolutely. I'm hearing about fungus any and everywhere all over the United States right now. I'm hearing about it as far north as Maine. Of course, Florida is... I'm sorry, I'm going to yawn because I just woke up. Of course, Florida is a swamp zone full of disease right now, all through the transition zone. So, yes, absolutely. Chicago, the amount of rain y'all have had through there, now with the heat, absolutely. Centipede Lawn in Mobile, Alabama. Larry Nelson wants to know, what is the best pre-emergent for Lespedeza? Isoxaben Gallery, Isoxaben. Isoxaben is a very good one. If your centipede is actively growing and you need to control it post-emergently, and you have the temperatures to do so, metsulfuron methyl would be your answer. Here comes Chris. So metsulfuron will do well. You could also do something where you use a lower rate of an herbicide and add in like simazine as a kicker. You can spray simazine on centipede when it's actively growing and not cause a whole lot of damage to it, but that will work more as a kicker than it will just a pure post-emergent product. So, but yeah, isoxaben would be the best one. Brian, low Brian, that's what I'm talking about all the way from South Dakota. Glad you're here, good sir. Hi, Matt. Can you tell me how long after I put my fall pre-em mesotrione down for broadleaf control can I put down prodiamine down on tall fescue? You could put it down the same time. There doesn't need to be like one then the other. You can tank mix them and spray them both at the same time. Michigan Mike wants to know, when applying a PGR in the summer, when is the time you don't apply it? Kentucky bluegrass, perennial rye, and have an irrigation system. If you are exceeding the genetic limit of the plants in terms of temperature, then I probably wouldn't apply it. So I'll give you an example. If you have a forecast of nothing but 95-degree weather and you've got Kentucky bluegrass and perennial rye, I'm sorry, I would not put it under regulation. And that's not to say that people don't do that successfully. There are lots of people that do that successfully. It's just at that point, you're fighting genetics of the plant, and so therefore you don't want to put it under regulation where it can't necessarily grow out of anything it may face. So I would typically do it early into the face of peak stress and then let it come out of regulation as you're moving into stress. If it's been regulated long enough, you may be able to just continue to power through it under regulation. Just know that if anything happens, it's going to become an issue. And it's going to take a long time for it to recover, probably until the fall. I have a 75% turf-type tall fescue, 25% Kentucky bluegrass. Would Carbon X be a good winterizer for my last application going into the fall? Late fall, early winter. Yes, John Myers, because it has a fair amount of ammoniacal nitrogen in it. And ammoniacal nitrogen is going to be extremely stable over cold weather. So what you would see is that it would hang on a little bit later into the season before going quote-unquote winter dormant. And it would also pop out earlier in the season coming out of winter dormancy. Pete Detraglia. Detraglia. I don't know. I'm out of here, man. Matt, I'm in upstate New York. First year dealing with brown patch in my lawn. Any advice would be helpful. This is pretty simple. Brown patch is super popular where I come from. You can see where Pete's been dealing with it, and he said, "Not this year, baby. Ain't got no brown patch in that yard." I saw that in one of his videos. But easily put. The easiest way to prepare for it is to put down a fungicide. So I like mixing a strobilurin with a DMI. So azoxystrobin plus propiconazole in the same tank mix. If you're going at it curatively, then run the max application rates for both. And it will do a good job of clearing that up. The Lawn Fix has a tall fescue lawn in Georgia. I think I had Pythium blight in some areas. I added PPZ and azoxy, but it's still spreading. Then that sounds like Pythium if you sprayed it and it's continuing to spread. And I will say that with the temperatures we're facing right now, because I'm just north of you here in Tennessee, and it's getting into Pythium weather here. So typically I say brown patch is going to be when you're over 85 during the day and you're in the 60s at nighttime. If you get into the 90s and 70s where you're over 90 during the day and over 70 at night and a little bit of rain, you're in Pythium weather. I know we keep having the thunderstorms roll through and we're consistently in the 90s now. You're in Pythium weather. When you're going after Pythium, mefenoxam is your friend. Subdue Max. Mefenoxam 2AQ is another cheaper off-patent label that I believe is labeled for residential turf. I cannot remember off the top of my head. But Subdue Max or mefenoxam. The other thing you can apply is also a phosphite. Phosphites are a particular type of nutrient that can be applied that is very specific in harming the Pythium fungus. So you could even try tank mixing those two between a phosphite and mefenoxam. Just a word of warning, it's not cheap. Thinning perennial ryegrass due to Southern California summer heat. So we're syringing watering to maintain. If we overseed with Kentucky bluegrass this fall, would it help get through the summer better than 100% perennial ryegrass? The Grass Addict, probably not. I honestly don't know. I don't have enough experience with perennial ryegrass or Kentucky bluegrass to say if perennial ryegrass is failing the summer heat, add in Kentucky bluegrass. As my thought process works, I would say if it's not working with perennial ryegrass, the addition of Kentucky bluegrass isn't going to help it. But I may be totally wrong on that. I honestly do not know. In fact, if you do try it, I would love for you to try it and then report back to me how it works. Trent Burns, what's going on, sir? What's one of my Oxford brothers down there in Oxford, Mississippi? Well, he's not in Oxford, Mississippi, but he's no Miss boy. I installed some bitter blue sod for my neighbor. About 30% died. I did remove the dead grass. Do you think if I put some of my next products on it, will it be okay? Or should I give it some Carbon X? If you installed sod, and I'm not sure what bitter blue sod is, but if you installed sod and it died, no amount of products are going to bring it back. If you're just trying to continue to push the remaining sod that's there, yeah, you could do either or. Of course, I will always say, throw you some Carbon X on it. Matt, do you have a favorite rotary mower? If so, what makes it your favorite? Social Port, I do not, because I've never really cut with a rotary mower. I've tinkered around with one in the backyard before, and it was a huge commercial Kubota, and it was crap. Also had a Skag, the Turf Tiger. I liked it better than the Kubota, better cut. But outside of that, I really have no experience. Like a push rotary lawnmower, I haven't used in 20 years. I have turf type tall fescue with an infestation of Bermuda in mid-Missouri. What do you recommend to kill the Bermuda, and when would you recommend I treat it? This summer, early fall? Thanks. Our Missouri yard. So we are after the summer solstice. So what is particularly unique about that is that Bermuda grass after the summer solstice shifts its growth pattern into carbohydrate storage mode versus exhausting the root system of stored carbohydrates into putting out new foliage. So, that being said, now would be the time to interrupt the carbohydrate storage taking place for next year's Bermuda crop. Think of it as a crop, right? So it's doing everything it can right now to store everything it possibly can as carbohydrates in its root system to get ready for next year's explosion out of the ground. So by applying like either Acclaim, Phenoxyprop, or over the top by Ornamec, Fluazafop, over top of your zoysia grass, you're interrupting that Bermuda grass through physical harm, through the application of the herbicide, from being able to adequately photosynthesize and generate those carbohydrates for next year. So I would begin making applications now through the end of the year. How many will it take? It may take 3. It may take 6. I can't tell you that. It all depends on the variety of Bermuda, how rooted it is, and lots of factors go into it. How long your season ends up going. And I will tell you, you can apply it this year, but you're probably going to have to do it every year from this point forward. And year over year, it'll get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. But it's going to take many, many, many years to do that. Did you level your lawn before you use that reel mower on your Bermuda behind you? No, I did not. I did not level it at all. Centipede in Ridgeville, South Carolina. I've done 2 acts of Carbon X at 0.3 pounds of N per app. I applied T-Nex about 2 weeks ago, and the yard is starting to show stress and look lethargic. Don't want to revive it with N. Put down some microgreen today, hopefully to bring it out of its funk. Any ill effects from the T-Nex on Centipede or tips to help it out? David, moving into this season, there's lots of different things it could be. If you want to send me some pictures, I'd like to look at it and see what exactly is going on. But lots of different things. If you're really having to ramp up the water right now, it could be just the excess water being available that's throwing the centipede for a loop. Applying T-Nex to it can make it do really, really weird things. You talk about it being lethargic. Well, that's what T-Nex really does to the grass, is that it makes it lethargic. And it should make it look almost like pale is not the right word, because you'll have green, but it'll be like a dull green that you get to the grass. If it was 2 weeks ago you applied T-Nex and it's really starting to come on, then I would say it's probably in relation to your T-Nex application. It's going to be extremely sensitive based on rate of T-Nex. So that's the other thing too. You may have to wait for it to come out of regulation before it gets that natural color back. Let's see here. How soon after an application of Milorganite can I put Carbon X, or does it even matter with it being hotter than the Alabama? At what rate? If you're in Alabama, I'm assuming you're dealing with Bermuda grass, then I wouldn't worry too much about timing, because they just function so much differently when applied. Milorganite is going to be like, you put it down and you wait and it comes on and it does its thing. Carbon X, you apply and it's going to be more like wham, like just right, boom, right in your face. What can I spray on junipers with blight real bad? First, how do you know it's blight on your junipers? And second of all, if it is blight, chances are you're probably just going to have to prune it out. If you want to go with like a really systemic type fungicide, you could use a strobilurant like azoxystrobin. But chances are, if it is indeed blight, you will need to cut it out. Can I taint mix Celsius and Prosedge to attack nutsedge, Kalinga, broadleaves, etc. at the same time in Bermuda? It's what I have on hand. Yes, you can. I will say this, Prosedge doesn't work great on Kalinga, but it might do a little better with that Celsius kicker in there. Ever use or have good luck with fusillade on quackgrass and turf type tall fescue? We do not have quackgrass here in Knoxville, so I've never had to test that. But lots of people I've recommended about it, and I've not heard anything positive, and I've never heard anything negative about it. Joseph, I don't know. I've not really run a whole lot of those products, especially in combination like that, so I would probably reach out to Paul Castleberry. Rich Proto, hi Matt. Who would I contact to buy a quantity of Carbon X? Shoot me an email at thegrassfactor@gmail.com. Paul's Prime Cuts. Howdy, sir. Glad you're here. 802 Top Hat, if my lawn... Whoa, I kicked down to the bottom. Hang on. Hang on here. Okay, 802 Top Hat says, if my lawn is 80% weeds, 10% sand, and 10% centipede, Bermuda, and Bahia grass, southeast Georgia, should I go ahead and kill the weeds now or build up my turf and plan on fixing the late winter, early spring? Well, here's the thing. Where you are, you actually have to fix it during the summertime because your grass is dormant during the late winter and early spring. So, yes, I would kill the weeds now while building up your turf. So, do it all at the same time. Don't try and do one, then the other. If I have torpedo grass in my turf-type tall fescue, are there any selective herbicides that will be effective in killing it? Also, should I wait for cooler temps? No, Thomas, you can do it now. And what you do is you apply the herbicide quinclorac. Quinclorac. I bet you can, DSPO. Matt, I would like to incorporate all three pre-Ms. Anderson's and Mesotrione, Anderson's Barricade, Prodiamine. Tell me how, please. Okay, Anderson's Barricade and Prodiamine are the same pre-emergent. So if you wanted to incorporate all three, you would actually be incorporating two. And you would apply one in the spring and you would apply one in the fall. And if you wanted to incorporate both of them, you can actually tank mix them together and apply it in the spring and apply it in the fall. So if you need to apply like a pound of active ingredient of Barricade, then apply a pound of AI of Barricade or a pound of AI Prodiamine with, we'll say like somewhere between 4 and 6 ounces per acre of Mesotrione in the spring and then in the fall. Hey man, you like that NASA shirt? I need a SpaceX one. Moved into a new construction house in northeast Georgia, Bermuda sod, looking pretty good, but have some crabgrass nutsedge popping up. Is it okay to put down Prodiamine now in the fall and next spring? Yeah, you can do it now. This late, I would probably not do Barricade. I would probably run full rate of Dimension with a surfactant and post-emergent weed control. So I would probably run like, let's see. I would probably run Dismiss, Quinclorac, Dimension. Yeah, and methylated seed oil. Now, understand running Dismiss and methylated seed oil at the same time is going to yellow the fire out of your good grass. But it will do a good job of attacking that crabgrass. So if you can live with the burn, you should get good results from it. Or should I mix in something like Pennant Magnum? I don't think it's necessary. Hey man, how many times would you apply azoxystrobin propaganazole tank mix as a primitive for brown patch before you need to rotate to avoid resistance? Technically, only one. You would apply it only one. But the problem is that there's not that many frac codes for fungicides. So where you turn to after that, that's a tough one. I would probably hop over to Tennessee Turfgrass Weeds. They have a mobile weed manual, and on TennesseeTurfgrassWeeds.com, they have a selection tool for mitigating resistance. Your best bet would be combine even more modes of action into one. I hate it because they're not labeled for residential use, but using something like chlorothalonil or mancozeb in combination with it would pretty much guarantee you would never have to develop resistance, but of course it's pulled from the residential market. Matt, I have a new construction lawn, clayish. Do you know if compaction can be an issue right away, or does it take years before compaction becomes a problem? B-Rock, it can happen right away because it mainly just has to do with your... it just has to do with the amount of clay content in your soil. Not necessarily. The compaction may just come from you just extremely high bulk density. Let me phrase it that way instead of just having clay colloids in your soil. Bulk density would be how heavy and how dense your soil is, right? In over a given volume. So it can happen just immediately because of the physical tilth of your soil. So yeah, I mean you could definitely attack it right now. Hey man, are you familiar with Abound fungicide? If so, what are your thoughts about it not being labeled for use on turf? Yeah, it is the same thing as Syngenta's Heritage. However, it is it is labeled for like peanuts. It's for agriculture. It has not been through the same testing procedure that something that's labeled for residential lawn care has. So technically, it is illegal to use, and unfortunately, it's just one of those things that if it's going to get a residential label, it has to go through additional testing that costs additional millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. Therefore, people who apply residential products have to pay for it. About an issue I had with the tank mix that got a little clumpy on me. If you get a chance to let me know what you think, I would really appreciate it. It's driving me nuts. Yeah, Robert, I believe you were the one that texted to me and said it turned into like cottage cheese in your tank mix. I don't know if you had any pictures of it. If you did, send those to me. If not, I will. I'll try and go back and recalculate what happened on it and figure out what happened. If I skipped any of your questions, I'm sorry. Please ask again. I completely missed it. Tall Fescue Junkie. Do you foresee us fungus resistance eventually, since our main fungicides are azoxystrobin or propiconazole? Dollar spot, we're going to use propiconazole. So what would be quicker to resistance? It's hard to say because it all happens organically, right? It's all about how long does it take something to mutate to begin surviving that side of action the fungicide takes. So yeah, eventually resistance is going to develop, man. It doesn't matter what product you apply, it's going to come. How quickly does that happen? I don't know. It could be 1 month. It could be 100 years. You never know when that mutation is going to take place. Fusiblade plus Turflawn Ester will take out Bermuda Turf Type Tall Fescue. 3-4 wraps, he says. Matt, when using the same mode of action when fighting lawn diseases, how likely is it? Okay, yeah, I think we talked a lot about that. Hey, what's up, Jeremy Swatkins? How are you, good sir? New Perspective Lawn Care, how are you? Paul's Road Trip Swatkins. All right, let's see. Let's get on here. Matt, do you recommend a fuel storage stabilizer? I don't really have any small engine equipment. I never did when I had a business, but I would typically run. I never let anything sit for longer than a week, so I never really had to use a fuel stabilizer. Where I'm at, we took about a week, maybe 2 weeks off in a year, and that was it. Most of the time, there was no downtime at all whatsoever. It's just Christmas break, and then you come back to work. How long does MSM remain in the soil? Garden Earth Guy, I did a video about MSM just the other day and went through that. It all depends on soil pH. If you have a pH over a 7.5, it can remain in the soil up to like 364 months. So it remains in the soil a long time. Matt, in the future, will your company make a full organic fertilizer with biochar? Also, will you make a product with higher percentage of biochar? Hearing great things on getting more in soil. Yes, Pete, we will. When we will bring that to market, I don't know. It's going to take a little bit of time, and know that each product we release, just in like labeling and laws and stuff, all that behind the scenes stuff, it costs about $10,000 per product. So eventually we will, but we have to build everything out on our end to make sure we can produce it on a regular basis, consistently and with good throughputs. Follow up on the Celsius Pro Sedge tank mix question for Kalinga, Purple Nutsedge, Chamber Bitter, Dog Fennel, Broadleaf, Dallas, Quackgrass, and Spurge. Also have Blindside on hand. Best bet? Ooh, I would probably go Celsius plus Blindside. I'm not a big fan of Blindside, but looking at everything you have listed there, I would go Blindside. Matt, have you heard pool companies claim lawn care services called pool chemistry to go haywire? Yes, I have. And I will tell you when I typically hear it is when they are at the bottom of a hill, or there is a technician in that route that does not know how to trim around a pool. 99.99999% of the time when pool companies are claiming lawn care services cause the pool chemistry to go haywire, it's because the technician sprayed something in the pool or got fertilizer in the pool. 99.99999% of the time. There's rapid fire gunfire. I don't think anybody can hear it, but rapid fire gunfire going off right outside my house. My goodness, that is loud. Let's see. My perennial rye is going bonkers over Carbon X applied at 1/4 pound per 1,000. The roots are binding up my impact sprinklers. Love it, sir. That is awesome to hear, Trimac M. Have new lawns full of weeds, thinking blanket spray, cool season fescue with Battleship herbicide, mixed fluroxypyr, MCPA, triclopyr at risk with temps low 80s. Would you take a different approach? No, as long as you're under 85 with those, because those have a very unique formulation of fluroxypyr and triclopyr. Battleship does. That is a low volatilization formula. It's low volatilization. It doesn't mean it's no volatilization. So keep that in mind, that if you are going to start getting into your mid-80s and the 90, you're running super big risk there. But I love the idea of blanket spraying Battleship right there. That's a great product. I love it. Can you please explain the difference between ester and amine and when to use each, referring to 2,4-D? Sure. Ester is petroleum-based. Amine is a water-based formulation. When to use each, you use amines when it's hot outside. You use esters when it's cold outside. If the EPA would let us have an M-class fungicide back, we wouldn't have to worry about resistance. That's 100% correct. 100% correct. Matt, what exactly happens to Bermuda when you scalp it during the growing season? Does it go into shock? Does it regrow with the stems or only from underground? It will regrow from stems, and it will shock it, but not really, because typically when you're scalping, right? So the desire for photosynthesis is always going to be there for the plant, right? So if it ever goes into a situation where photosynthesis is not taking place, it's going to freak out and send all energy at that point right then and there into generate new leaves so photosynthesis can take place. So basically what happens when you scalp it and there's adequate soil moisture, yeah, it does go into shock and it just starts sending any and everything it can into generating new leaves. So you're going to get it coming from the ground, you're going to get it coming from the stems, you're going to get it coming from runners. It's just going to start coming up at it any and everywhere it possibly can, because that's where all the energy is being diverted. I've applied, here we go. Let's see. I've applied 15 pounds per 1,000 of sulfur in 3 amps this year to get pH below 8. Would molasses help the microbes digest sulfur faster, or would they be busy eating the molasses? I believe you asked this to me last week, and I think it's a good idea. I would definitely try it. 3 ounces per 1,000 per month, still the rule. I would probably go less than that. I would probably go like 1 ounce per 1,000 would be my rate. Saw on a PPC video that perennial ryegrass has allelopathic response when stressed. Not recommended with warm season grasses. Could this also be an issue in non-irrigated Kentucky bluegrass, North Iowa area? Yes. Perennial ryegrass is going to be non-selective. Allelopathy is non-selective, meaning it's going to inhibit the growth of anything around it. It doesn't matter if it's Kentucky bluegrass, if it's Bermuda grass, if it's centipede, if it's St. Augustine. It's all allelopathy is just a natural process of that plant. And it's even worse with annual ryegrass, and it's still there with perennial ryegrass, and there's lots of different conflicting studies of data about it, but there is a general consensus within the scientific community that yes, allelopathic responses in perennial ryegrass is real and not good. Could this be an issue in non-irrigated Kentucky bluegrass? Absolutely, with a resounding yes. Mike Morris has some goosegrass and bentgrass in turf-type tall fescue. Whoa, we jumped down to the bottom. Kentucky bluegrass mix. I plan to use Roundup in August. How long do I have to wait to proceed after the Roundup app? Here's the thing. If you are doing it, well, first off, if you started Roundup, you can seed it at the exact same time, same day. Roundup works on green leaves, moving into the plant through green leaves. It does not work by the seed. So the seed is not going to take on Roundup. Just the leaves would. So you can do it at the same time. Here's the thing. If you have goosegrass and bentgrass, Roundup may be your best bet for the goosegrass. There are other options that are out on the market, but you can apply that too. For the bentgrass, you may want to throw tenacity in with your with your glyphosate. Bentgrass is very difficult to kill. Even glyphosate will struggle to get rid of it. So you may want to take a two-site of action approach and include mesotrione with your glyphosate. Anything I can do culturally to stop the spread of Pythium blight? Rake it, cut the grass down low. I have tall fescue. No, once it's there, it's there. You got to get rid of it the other way. Can you, you cut the water down. You can try and dry it out and get rid of it. So just completely stop watering it altogether. Let it go completely dormant from drought stress. Can you recommend a good weed killer for the southeast? Got Bermuda, Bahia, centipede, tons of crabgrass, sedge, dollarweed, and clover. Thank you. Centipede would probably be your best bet, but that's going to kill your Bahia grass. That is probably the worst combination of grass types that you could possibly have. So if it were me, I would choose one and get rid of the other. So I would choose, I want to keep Bermuda grass, and I would want to get rid of the Bahia grass and centipede. So I'd go blanket spray it with a product called Monument, trifloxysulfuron. It would kill the Bahia grass, it would probably kill the centipede, and it would put a really big hurting on the rest of the weeds in your lawn and just leave you with Bermuda grass. And I would, of course, pound it really heavy with some ammonium sulfate at the same time. If I spray quinclorac with MSO in the evening, is there any risk of turf injury in the following day when the temps are in the 90s? There is potential, but it should be minimal. Matt Anderson, I can't remember, do you have Bermuda grass? Because if you have Bermuda grass, quinclorac is just going to yellow Bermuda. It just is. It doesn't matter what the temperature is, it's going to cause discoloration. I should have taken it, but it didn't happen until I put the adjuvant. I was able to spray it out okay, but what sat in my mixing bucket got worse. It was the curative rate of abound thiophanate methyl and the natural adjuvant. Yeah, I don't know what that is, because in that natural adjuvant is going to be surfactant and chitosan, and then typically you add citric acid to bring your pH solution down. I don't know, and here's the other thing too, but Abound, that's not going to be labeled for turf. I don't know what in-can adjuvants they have in there. So whatever they put in that actual concentrate of Abound may not play well with another adjuvant. So there you go. Peg Junk Wilmot Carbonates will be available for the West Coast soon, very soon. Emails coming in. Hey, Matt, could you please explain the difference between non-ionic surfactant and methylated seed oil surfactant and when to use each? George Wilson, yes, you will use each based on what the recommendation of the label is. MSO, typically you want to use that when you have to penetrate the plant. So, for instance, when the plant is really hardened off because of heat or summer stress, you want to use something like an MSO to really work its way into the plant. A non-ionic surfactant just means it's going to cut surface tension. It doesn't really have that penetrant properties. George, there is a video I did that is called all about surfactants, and it will probably be here we go. It will probably be a good start for you here. Let me see. George Wilson. Bam. Is Carbonex useful for all types of of plants, or is it mainly formulated for turf? What about less than lethal types of grass? Less than legal types of grass. I would not, B-Rock, I would not put it on that because it's entirely too much nitrogen. If you want something for that, I would look up Haifa MPK. Big shout out to Chris Elms there. Haifa MPK, monopotassium phosphate. It is mainly formulated for turf, but it will work well for all plants that enjoy nitrogen. Ruben Rivera wants to know spreader settings for Carbon X on an Earthway 2600 spreader, Empire Zoysia. Ruben, I believe Alan Hain did a video about how to apply Carbon X, and he used an Earthway spreader, and I do not remember what his setting is, but I will shoot you a link real quick and tell you with so he could tell you exactly how he did that. All right, let's see here. What is the typical product conception to market time, excluding starting the company, but including the idea, testing, legal, labels, marketing, etc.? Put it this way, like from conception to, like the release of Carbon X, we had just under a year to get it done. So we formed in June. We broke ground in September, and then, in October, we finished construction in February, and then we had product out the door by the end of February. So if that puts any kind of a idea in your mind, and I'll tell you that is just insane fast. Nobody does it that fast. We shouldn't have done it that fast. It was painful, and we're still suffering the consequences of it. But we did it in, what is that, 8 months? And and I think that's a realistic 8 months to a year is probably where you want to be on that. Let's see, not getting results on Dollar Spot and Zoysia with Headway and T-Meth. Any suggestions? Interesting. I would check out the Dollar Spot trials from NC State. And they will have efficacy ratings based on the active ingredients. But I would say thiophanate methyl would be up there in terms of results. So, yeah, I don't know. I would definitely have to play around, especially if you're not getting results. If you're not getting results with Dollar Spot on Zoysia, makes me think, one, it's not actually Dollar Spot, and two, fertilizer should be able to push that out, no problem at all. I feel like there's more to it, Garner Earth Guy. Share more of the story with me. Hi, Matt. Tall fescue cool season zone. If I applied premium mesotrione in early September, then waited 1 month and applied prodiamine for POA bluegrass, what's you say? No, I would not do that. Because your POA bluegrass in a cool season zone is probably going to germinate in early September. So applying it in early October, you're going to miss your window for POA. What you could do is seed on whenever your seed day is. So we'll say September 1st you seed, and then 1 month later, like October 1st or October 15th, you could apply ethofumicate and catch your bluegrass. Yeah, gunfire inside my house. I'm in Knoxville, but I'm out in the country. I'm way out in the country here. Matt, is it considered being a real man if your T-Nex app got rained out and you 4 hours later sprayed it around? Sprayed it again. I love it. Sometimes, man, you got to get out there and do it. I hear it. No, yeah, you get to keep your card for today, sir. Matt, your old row of cypresses on the struggle bus. Do I go next products like Floor Green Drench or Osmocote Carbon X or something else? Man, if you're struggling, give it some foliar and granular. Osmocote is typically what's recommended, during plant. Post plant, you can definitely put down something like Carbon X. You're not going to hurt anything there. Or you can do a drench with something like Floor Green. Really, the world is your oyster. Have at it how you wish, Trent. It's all going to work in a very similar way. I don't think either of those are going to really outperform the other. Probably what I would do in my experience is just go get those fertilizer stakes from Home Depot or Lowe's, shove those in, call them good. Ammonium alkyl ether sulfate. What is it? Fancy name for soap? It is the active in a soil penetrant. Yes, that is an alkyl ether sulfate of ammonia would be a surfactant. That is a very fancy way of saying it is a surfactant. Now, probably what this being a soil penetrant will just make it super, 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 super slick. And it's also going to be acidic. So the goal with this product would be to flush carbonates and move through the profile really quickly. So I would say that just looking at that, that would be a very effective soil penetrant because it's going to clear everything out of the way that would slow the movement of water into the soil. Excess carbonates can cause a tightening of the soil. So by applying an acidic base product like that, and then you're gonna react out all those excess carbonates and create that room, and that surfactant, of course, is going to be moving things through it really quickly too. So yeah, as in a lot of soil penetrants, you'll see that as an active ingredient. Hey Matt, applied dithiopyr. What, Trent Burns? What are you doing, sir? Unnecessary. Thank you. Not necessary, Trent. I appreciate it. Hey Matt, applied dithiopyr. Directions only warned to avoid until dust settles. I also water in and wait until dry. What's safest for kids and dogs? Wife worried. As soon as it's watered in until dry, you're good. It's moved into the soil. It's done. You don't have to worry about it. And at that point, the dilution level, is going to be so low that it's, your safety level there is going to be entirely fine. Meadall. Hey Matt, first time, long time, I have a mulberry tree that is dropping fruit, and it got me thinking how it affects lawn chemistry. A little Google search, and I don't think mulberries will, but what about apples or more acidic fruit? Yeah, totally. They can affect the soil all the time, and a lot of times it is nature's way of saying, I'm going to acidify and make these growing conditions ideal for my tree and no other trees. So yeah, I mean, that is... Absolutely. It happens all the time. And it's not just fruit trees. It can be any kind of tree. It could be a pine tree. It can be certain species of oaks. They all work that way. Let's see. Would there be any ash trees left if the ash borer liked all trees? I mean, it would be hard, but probably what you would see happen, Steve, is that people would actually care more from the government perspective on tackling something like emerald ash borer. But until then, it's always going to be, well, if we got some excess money in the budget, we'll kick some coins over to the people that are worried about the ash tree. Will Fusilier 2 take down Dallas grass in a tall fescue lawn, Middle Tennessee? Yes, with enough application. Those are fireworks outside of Summit? My goodness, I thought those were gunshots. I thought the rednecks up the road were out there scaring the cows or something. Hey Matt, do you use a surfactant with dismiss for sedge? Typically, no, I do not. Only in the worst situations would I do it. I have a lot of red spotted spurge in my backyard. We got 100 degrees plus with my Bermuda. How can I get rid of it? Trying to keep pulling, but it's winning the battle. So red spotted spurge and really high temperatures, I would spray really early in the morning, metsulfuron methyl on Bermuda, and it will knock out your spurge. I have Bermuda in North Georgia and noticed some spider mites the day before yesterday. Should I blanket spray Eagle 20 my whole yard now? No actual spotting yet. Just wanted to get a head start. So, you notice spider webs. Okay, so funnel weaver spiders are actual spider webs that you can get on your yard that do not cause problems. I read that as spider mites. I don't know where my brain was, but you can get Bermuda mites. They're not going to web your lawn. Funnel weaver spiders will web your lawn, and then they're not necessary to treat. You can go out there and just knock them out, or just let them go, and they will be A-okay. Let's see. Best herbicide for torpedo grass is quinclorac. Earth weight 2600 days. Setting for Carbonex is 17. There we go. Thank you, sir. 17. I used T-Zone SE on my Xeon Zoysia about 3 weeks ago and still have weeds appearing and didn't seem to do much to current weeds. Huh. Another application? No. If it didn't work then, there's no reason to necessarily apply it. One, I would make sure that what you made a very accurate application. Number one. Number two, I would also make sure that you are spraying the right herbicide for the right weeds. You don't list much of what current weeds are in the lawn, so I'm concerned that it may be a yard full of Dallas grass and you apply T-Zone and it's not doing anything because there are no active ingredients in T-Zone that are going to damage Dallas grass. So I need more of the picture of what's going on there because that's unfortunately just not enough data for me to give you a reason on why that's not working like it should. Let me see here. I lost my... Okay, here we go. If you apply something that dings your color, like herbicide, can you add something that promotes color to mitigate that effect, or should you hold off and use it as a follow-up later? Yes, you can add something that will mitigate, then add color to your mix. You'll see it in a lot of herbicide recommendations. They'll say if you add iron to this, it will cut down on the amount of yellowing that takes place. Telly Coleman is late, but he's here. Were you the one navigating the helicopter that was shooting all the guns over my house? Can you talk about humic and phos for a starter? Yeah, Paul, a little bit. I will talk more about this because I'm still trying to figure it out. But, I was looking at a study the other day, and it was talking about how organic acids and phosphorus don't really play well with each other. They can cause one to come out of solution and will prevent. So the whole idea with applying phosphorus is that you have to keep phosphorus solubilized, right? So whether it's in the soil, if it can become soluble, that means a plant root can take it up and it becomes plant available. So it's all about keeping it soluble, right? When you introduce humic acid, the humic acid portion of it, when reacting with solubilized phosphorus, will react and cause it to come out of solution. And so you'll get a solid precipitate that will fall out and can be difficult for the plant to actually use it. So typically, in terms of a starter with a humic product, you would have much greater success of running something that would be fulvic based versus a humic base, because the humic base can make keeping it in solution and plant available extremely difficult, if not even impossible. So we'll start there. But I've got way more to learn about that. Like, I'm deep in the wormhole on it. Carbonex in summer, cool season, turf type, tall fescue, 85 to 90 degree temps and forecast. If so, what amount? I'd probably hold off. If you're 85 to 90 degree temperatures, if you're still starving for nitrogen and you can't get any growth, then yeah, absolutely, you can put it out. Put it out like 2 pounds a thousand. You're not going to hurt anything in a half pound in. But if you've already got peak color and you're just trying to maintain it, you could apply it again at probably 2 pounds a thousand, or just probably not even need to apply it at all, really. Also, how much can sand help leveling? Inches. Sand can help a lot, but typically you have to do it over and over and over and over in order to get it to completely level out. And what you would have to do is maybe do like an inch at a time, maybe upwards of 2 inches at a time, and just understand you're going to have some settling take place. It's a multiple year process. It is not a single year process. Applied pre-emergent in April, then again in early June. Scott's grain, there still see some crabgrass. Should I reapply in the Northeast? Maybe tenacity? I would apply tenacity, but I would not apply Scott's granular crabgrass pre-emergent. That is going to be a pendimethalin based product, maybe a prodiamine based product. It's not going to have any post-emergent activity. Tenacity, mesotrione, does have post-emergent activity on crabgrass, so I would apply tenacity. Given the high alkalinity of Next products, do they tend to raise the soil pH over time? If so, any recommendations? I have no idea. I haven't applied them in over a year, so I honestly do not know. I'd probably reach out to Castleberry and see what old Castleberry has to say about that. Yeah, I do not know. About to use T-Nex on my common Bermuda for the first time. What advice do you have for starting rate and other things to watch out for? So this is Jared. This is typically how I recommend is to get it under regulation. I recommend starting out low and making multiple applications. And I'll give you an example. Like last year, I started at 6 ounces to the acre, 8 ounces to the acre, 10 ounces to the acre, 12 ounces to the acre, and was spraying it every 2 weeks. And then when I got somewhere around that 12 ounces to the acre, I really started to get it under regulation. This year, I started at 6 ounces to the acre, then immediately jumped into 12 ounces to the acre. Dinged it a little bit with the jump into 12 ounces to the acre. So I would start low and apply frequently until you get to your level of regulation that you like, and then back your rate down or maintain your rate. When using an ester herbicide during warmer weather on Kentucky bluegrass or showtite fescue, would spraying at dusk work out better to reduce volatilization? Not necessarily, because temperature inversion can create just as much of an issue of volatilization than your actual temperature of spraying. So no, when it's just this hot outside, just stay away from ester-based formulations. Don't even try and go to it. Blanket spraying bifin, is it a problem with a newborn after it's dry? No, man, you will be a-okay. Yeah, after it's dry, you're going to be good to go. You'll be fine. Paul and fulvic base, 901 starter for it. There he goes. Wormhole, sorry about that. Human can be good, Chris. What is the black gypsum used for? Okay, so I did not skip you about fireworks outside. Steve Willie, what the hell are you doing, sir? Steve. Steve, no. What are you doing? What are you doing? Dude. What are you doing, dude? Y'all don't know, Steve and I, we go back a really long way. He's up in far east Tennessee, Kingsport area, and he's a great guy. And you talk about, I say this with love. Boy, do I say this with love. Steve is a dinosaur in the industry, and he has a wicked sense of humor, and he does not mind to get himself into trouble. He'll say anything to anybody, and I just can't help but love him for it. Steve, I love you to death. Thank you. You do not have to do that. Just call me when I get off the damn show. Steve, what the hell are you thinking? I'm going to come on over there and put my boot up your rear end, sir. Making me nervous. I'm sweating now. Here we go. And I ran out of questions. Asami, I did mention you. You were outside. I'm off my A game. What are we doing? Someone from the Discord chime in and tell me what we're doing. We're running in 10:03. Let me get some plugs out of the way real quick while I've got everyone. If you're wondering how to get a hold of me during the show or after the show, do not text me. I fell asleep earlier and I woke up and I had all kinds of tests going on here. I got my wife, I've got Jimmy Cox, Paul Outlaw text me, and my sister text me all during the show. And I missed a call from a friend in Memphis, Mr. Corey. Hey, Corey, if you're watching, I need to call you. But you can find me on social media. I hang out at mostly the Discord. The Discord is the show before and the show after the show. It is a group of, how do I put it? A bunch of middle-aged, it's like a middle-aged men's support group. Everybody's there between the ages of their late 20s and early 50s, and they all used to be really cool, and then they became middle-aged. And I don't know how else to describe it other than being a middle-aged support group. A lot of IT guys, so if you're an IT guy, I highly recommend you join. You'll fit in really well because they're just everywhere in there. There's 802 Top Hat. He just joined. But you can check us out over at thelawn.discord.com. I hang out there often. You can email me at thegrassfactor@gmail.com. thegrassfactor@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram at thegrassfactor. My Instagram, I'll tell you, is mostly personal stuff, just me and the family, the kids hanging out. Occasionally, we may be going after a local place, giving them a little bit of a hard time and stuff. Love you, John Gardner. And you can also find me at lawnforum.com. I do not participate a whole lot in the lawnforum.com because those guys there I'm typically learning from. I do lurk, so if you do tag me in something in the lawn forum, usually I'll come look at it. But I try to hide there more than I do actively participate. So, like I said, those are the main ways to get a hold of me. Feel free to do that. And then, if anybody has any more questions, here we go. Whoa! Phil Cagle, yes. Why use Paclo and T-Nex versus one or the other? So you would combine the two just for the length of residual that you get out of it. I'm doing it mainly as a test because I have common Bermuda and it is not safe for common Bermuda. And I'm curious, how not safe is it for common Bermuda? When you combine the two, yes, you do drop the rates because you're combining the two. They're both gibberellic biosynthesis inhibitors, so they have a same function within the plant. They're going to affect the same pathways, slightly differently, but the same pathways nonetheless. And so by combining the two, you do get an overall greater effect. And the chemistry behind paclobutrazil will mean a longer residual. So, yes, you do have to drop the rates. Let's see. I mean, I'm still cool in my own mind. Look at this. Dinosaur, no two words been spoken. Are you a T-Rex? Just curious if you've ever walked into Ernstein's after hitting up Rayford's. If so, how safe did you feel if you weren't inebriated? I'm going to say I have been to Ernstein only after going to Rayford, so I do not know what that feels like to be there in the light of the evening, because typically if there was any light, it was like early a.m., because it was either there or Printer's Alley, Trent Burns, if you remember that one. Printer's Alley is blah, blah, blah. I did a front yard renovation with Rhizomatous tall fescue last year, and I can't mow more than 3 inches tall. It gets too shaggy. I'm pretty sure I went overboard throwing seed. Does that have anything to do with it? Francisco, yes, it can. By overdoing the seed until it simply just thins out, it may have an issue with being, shaggy. And I don't know which varieties you use, so certain cultivars of RTF may be lower growing than others. So, yeah, it's entirely possible. Robert, thank you, sir. Big, big, big thank you. I really enjoy the live show. The live show is just, I've been doing it for over a year now, and I really love it. I really loved it. I asked about the spider webs earlier. I thought that was a sign of dollar spot formation. They go away once the dew dries off. Blanket spray the whole yard. It could be dollar spot formation, but typically if you see spider webs and then discolored grass at the same time, that's dollar spot. You're not going to see like webs and then the next day see the spots. It would happen at the same time. So again, they're funnel weaver spiders, and they don't hurt anything, so there's no real reason to spray them. You can. You would, if they're all throughout the yard, I would blanket spray the whole yard because, they'll lay their webs and then be gone in the morning. So, I don't know. I would Google it. Google your funnel weaver spiders and find out how to control those. I do not know off the top of my head. Each time I apply in, I get some dark striping even though I think my overlap is good. Is that the insane iron levels in my soil? It is entirely possible, Terry Finch. Send me a picture of that if you don't mind. I really like your soil test because it is just off the charts terrible. And so Send me some pictures of it. And as long as you're throwing back to your previous footsteps, or wheel marks, however you want to look at it, as long as you're throwing back to that, that's your overlap, right? So you always throw back to your footsteps. It totally could be, man. I really want to see it. Straight lines do not exist in nature. So I'm curious how straight those lines are. How about that? Lambert, if I need it, I will do regular iron, but I come from the pro side of turf where, I don't really use iron unless it's necessary. So it's all tools in a toolbox, right? And iron's a metal, and, I know if I continually over apply iron, then, I can really make that soil super, super, super hard. So I only used it when I needed it, or just in really low rates to make sure I'm getting peak color from my fertilizer response. That's why you'll see like Green Doc will recommend a really low rate of feature at 3 ounces per 1,000, because 3 ounces per 1,000 is going to get that lawn to peak. It's not going to push it into that hypersynthetic blue color, but it will get it to that peak green. And, that's where he has the saying that warm season grass is not meant to be blue, and it's not. And so that 3 ounce rate is designed to get it to peak green. So I like using iron to get it to peak green. I don't like chasing that blue effect that a lot of people go after. It's possible mow overlap is not good. I've been working on it. Just throw back to your footsteps. That's it. So make sure that on your spreader, on your width, where's the camera? On your width. So you make your first pass right here, and your second one, when you come back this way, the prills are throwing and touching where you walked this way. You just need that. Just back to your footsteps. Applied max amounts prodiamine in spring via split app. If I want to apply pre-em for fall protection for next spring, should I be switching to a different product, or am I done? No, you can apply max amounts prodiamine in spring. Oh, via split app. Wow, yeah, you would have to switch to a different product. You could not go with prodiamine. In fact, I would recommend staying away from the DNAs altogether, the D-nitrile inhibitor. So you would have to stay away from Barricade, pendimethalin, or dithiopyr. Prodiamine, pendimethalin, or dithiopyr. Switch to a different mode of action. And your lawn, in your professional opinion, what is the lowest I can mow my Xeon Zoysia with sand leveling in a real mower? Currently using a Greensmaster 1000. It's currently at 0.75. Man, with Xeon, I don't know. Xeon's one of these new hybrids. I'm not just a giant fan of it. So I don't have a ton of experience with it. If I had to guess, you could probably take it to a 1/2 inch. Anything below a 1/2 inch, it might get squirrely, and you could be the one to test it out and report back how it works. But I think you can take it to 0.5, no problem at all. BB Camillo, what to do about sedges in my plant beds near azaleas, hydrangeas, viburnums in Central Florida? I would spray it with sulfentrazone. Roundup is not going to be strong enough to get it, so I would either use halosulfuron methyl, also known as sedgehammer, or sulfentrazone. There you go. Or you could also spray a little bit of Certainty on it. You could also spray a little bit of Monument for it. All of those are sulfonylureas, and you're not going to get a whole lot of movement into the plant with them, so yeah, you'd be good to go. All right, everybody. Again, if you would like to get in contact with me, I will throw this up on the screen one more time over at the Discord, thelawn.discord.com, or by email, thegrassfactor@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram at thegrassfactor, or thelawnforum.com at thegrassfactor. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next week. Well, I'll probably have a video out for then. If you haven't, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and all that stuff helps me out one way or another. I really appreciate it, everybody. Thank you so much. Take care.